Now we're live.
Now we're live. Hello.
Because you told me, you said push the button.
No, I said your job is to push the buttons.
Yes, so I pushed the button because you said
I didn't say even push the pull the string.
pull the string.
Pull the string.
Quite a
Welcome
button.
everyone to this week's episode of Good Night Everybody. I am your host as always, Christopher Lawrence. With me is Sidekick Steven and our special guest for the evening, the great Patrick Coffin. Patrick,
Mr. Coffin.
We're doing that. And
Someone
these two are
said great.
best friends.
Someone said great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you. Are
Well-
we on? Are we live?
We are now
live.
because Steven took it upon himself to push the button.
You told me, you said you pushed
That's
the
not what
button.
I didn't say that. I said it's your job to push the button. This is not a directive to push the button.
I
It
heard push the button.
Okay.
That's
He's
what I
Let's
very-
argue about whether purgatory is in the Bible or not.
That's wow. We're coming out swinging.
It is in the Bible. Everything is in the Bible. Even what you're supposed to eat is in the Bible.
Our Lady of Fatima statues. Statues worshiping statues. Yes, we're that Catholic.
In the Bible. Yes. It's all
So
in the Bible.
this is. Oh boy.
Still
So-
trying to figure out where in the Bible does it say the words the Bible?
It's the only thing not contained in the Bible.
There's a lot of things. A lot of things. So
My
Okay.
uncle kept his Netflix password in the Bible, but it was not original. It was not original to the Bible. But
okay,
it was
I
the
have.
most use he got out of that Bible. I'll tell you
Alright.
what.
I will say the thing that I always say, which is that well, actually no, because I usually say it when we're
something-
not recording. Are we live? Are we live? I think we're live. Yes, we're live.
Is
Okay.
it live or is it Memorex? You guys are
Before
too young
you-
for that commercial.
Before you say something that you usually say, Stephen, because the things you usually say are either racist or about
Ah.
a cow. So let's avoid either one of those for the time being. It's inevitable. I know you're going to say something racist over the course of the hour.
I posted on YouTube's about, or not YouTube, on the Twitters about the fact that Patrick Coffin is on, and I posted the link. So
Good.
now we have the link to this actual live stream
Excellent.
in there. See, you can see it here. There it is. It's the link.
Nice. Can
That's-
you throw that up onto my Twitters?
I tagged
Awesome.
you, so that's
Oh, you tagged me. Wonderful.
If
Tag
you
like
wanted
that.
to
Cool.
stream it on your Twitters, you're free to do so. But you have to do that in the upper right hand corner. You'd have to do that. But we're trying to direct everyone. But if anyone is watching, or if they are watching on something other than we would let them know to come to
YouTube.
the YouTube, because that's where our contest is going to be.
Right.
So I'm gonna quote tweet this and say our giveaway of a pipe and a pocket watch.
Now, this is a tobacco pipe, not a freaky deaky vape shop
No.
pipe.
No, it is a tobacco pipe, and high quality pipes. Patrick,
I mean,
you
I
saw
suppose you
I
could
think
use
it's
it
not
for
person.
anything. Check the laws in your area. It is a fully functioning pipe. I, for one, would not use it for anything other than high quality tobacco.
Yeah, I actually
So, Stephen, what was that story you told us? Something about you smoked weed and set your kitchen on fire.
nope, no, I did not smoke. I did almost set my kitchen on fire by trying to
You
make
got
pudding.
high.
Not high.
Yeah,
Did not get high.
I'm pretty sure. We can
Nope.
revisit. We'll check the videotape at a later date. See if I'm getting my facts a little mixed up. I don't think so. It's something about smoking a lot of weed and putting a towel on your stove. This is what you told
We
me.
did. That is a thing because that's how
You
you're
did?
making. You make a pudding. Patrick, have you ever made an authentic British pudding?
Even if you did this dead sober, is that better or worse?
Have been served it, but never made it. Yeah, it's delicious.
When you make it, you have to boil. You have to put it, like the pudding in a towel, a tea cloth, basically.
Yep.
And you have to put it in a pot, and you have to boil for about 4 hours. Now, if in that 4 hours you leave because it's Christmas morning and you'll spend Christmas morning with your your mother and your brothers and sisters, and then come back, you may find that all of the water has disappeared and that the pot itself is like red hot and that your pudding has burnt to a crisp. And so you take it outside because it's smoking and you pull the lid off. And then when you pull the lid off of it, you may also find that it spontaneously combusts because the oxygen gets in. These are things, Patrick, you know, right? This is a thing that happens on the
Yeah.
regular.
Well, almost. I don't know if
Oh,
this
it's
is
a
worse
Mateo.
or better, but because of my magical abilities, when I come back, the water's gone and the pot is gone, and there's no pudding.
And there's no pudding.
That's where I thought you were going.
No,
'Cause
the pudding was there. And actually,
that's where the proof is, you see?
the proof is in the pudding. But if you were to shave off the burnt on the outside, it still was a delicious pudding. The problem, of course, being that the burnt flavoring got, like, once we were ready to eat it, the burnt flavoring actually had seeped all the way in, and then it was inedible. But yeah, my wife, she chopped up by hand, like dried fruit. We dried fruit. We bought fruit and then dried it, because if you buy dried fruit, they add all sorts of additives in it. And she chopped it up into, you know Kayla, you met Kayla, my wife, and she chopped it up into small pieces and we put it into this pudding, and the whole thing got ruined, and Christmas dinner was ruined, and then I haven't seen her since. So.
But what a story it made.
What a story.
It wouldn't have had any impact if it had gone normally. And
that's true.
The story is more important than the feelings of your children. I think we can agree.
Yeah, 100%. You've met my children, so you get that. So,
yes.
So Chris, we are going to be giving away a pipe today.
I've heard.
Those are high quality pipes. I have to interject. Those are very sweet, sturdy, little masculine note there. I can just see it after a few months of good use, smelling divine, even after clean. Just
yeah, mine is smelling pretty nice. Because
what are you smoking weed wise? You got some Latakia, some Virginia English blend. What do you got?
So the last one was this Sutliff Creme Brulee. This is something that that I got from Caleb, the Catholic Pipe Company guy. He's like, I'll send you a care package, because I said I don't even know where to get tobacco, and he's like, I'll send you a care package. So he sent me a bunch of really nice guys. Sent me a bunch of tobacco to try out, and so it takes a couple days after you smoke, but then you get this really nice smell in the bowl.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep. The patina. Very nice.
I had my.
How do you qualify? What needs to happen for you to be the victor and the winner of this pipe?
I believe.
Comment on the. You have to subscribe and like and comment.
Yes, and yes, I'm looking for the pipe. So
bribery also goes a long way. So super chats will sway me.
But potentially, but I don't know who's actually doing the.
We did get one super chat, didn't we? On one episode. Were you involved with this?
I don't think I was, because if I was, no one would have paid for that. No one pays.
$10. $10.
Isn't 5 of that mine then?
5 of that. This was before you. You just told me.
I mean, I wasn't on that particular episode, but that doesn't necessarily
mean. I think this was before you in general. If not, then yes, I owe you $5.
It's okay.
But I will check that.
I'll take it out of your bill.
My bill.
I haven't billed you yet, but I'm building it up.
I had my grandfather's leather tobacco pouch, and I would take it out and smell it frequently. It smelled so nice. And since he died before I was born, they mixed a bit of his ashes in with the tobacco stuff in the pouch. That's not true. But it did smell nice.
All right. So I posted earlier today some pictures of the pipe.
What was that? There was that damn ghost again.
It was not a ghost. That is my wife.
There was an unidentified walking object.
Every time there's a damn ghost. He's in a dungeon.
It's a family show. Darn ghost.
Memento Mori.
Memento Mori. That is correct,
what
sir.
Did I say?
You said damn ghost.
Don't say that. This is a family show.
I'm gonna do a show on cussing.
Did you know what I learned today, Stephen? I was reading Wind in the Willows to my daughter, and they say ass.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
same thing in James and the Giant Peach.
So I had to make a split-second decision. Do I censor ass, or do I let the ass fly? like Kim Kardashian.
Balaam had one. I think you're good.
Okay, that's true. Well, I'm always thinking I'm running
the
into
ashes of Archbishop Fulton Sheen. That seems wrong.
No,
is that an urn?
No, this is a pipe. It's not
the
pipe. So this is close to the pipe that we're going to be giving away. I put pictures because Caleb sent me. He's out of this pipe, but he made another one that was very similar. Because I saw this and I thought that
whose ashes are one we're giving away?
We're not giving away anyone's ashes. We're giving away one of these pipes, and so we will contact. So throughout the show, make comments on the video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and then we will choose someone.
Now, what is the upcharge if we would like to add someone's ashes to the pipe?
There's no ability to add someone's ashes. That goes against Catholic teaching. Bad.
Well, we're not creating ashes.
No, we're
the ashes.
I think that still goes against Catholic teaching. Patrick,
I bought a book from a Catholic place the other day. They sent me a blessed medal, but I didn't pay for the medal. It's that kind of loophole.
Right, but I still think disturbing the actual ashes or disturbing someone's grave. I think we have an apologist here.
There would be a canon forbidding. I forget where it is. This would all be moot except what happened in 1963 under Paul VI. He's the one who opened the box with the name Pandora on the side of it. Before then, cremation itself was strictly forbidden. Now, it's something that's rare, if practically non-existent, all of a sudden now it quickly becomes the norm. This is kind of what happened with birth
That's
control.
true. My mother, who passed away a few weeks ago, up until a couple of years before that, was of the mind that she would be cremated when she died. And I had to tell her, Mom, no, despite what you have heard, being that you were a boomer, can't do that. Because I operate as if many things in the church did not happen, between me and you.
Sorry for your loss, Chris.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. But she, you know what? She went out, since we're talking about this, she went out the way you would want. She had the apostolic pardon. She had her scapula on. She had viaticum. So, I mean, most you could possibly do to get someone right into heaven. We from a good priest, we did it. So
good.
I'm praying for her soul every day anyway, but I'm pretty sound in my belief that she's probably up there.
At the very least, purgatorially.
At the very least, yeah. Plus, the like year before, she was converting like everybody in her care in her nursing home. She was giving all these Protestant women scapulars and rosaries and booklets on how to pray it, and so you got to be getting some graces from that, I'm sure.
Yeah. This is the second thing we're giving away.
Yeah, let's finish with this because I do want to ask Patrick some things about current events in the church.
Look at that.
Okay, so this is a Saint Benedict medal pocket watch. So on one side is this, and on the other side of this one, and it does count as a Saint Benedict medal, as I understand it. And I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but you can have it, or you can. I think the Saint Benedict medal is something. It's not something you get blessed. There's its own special ritual.
No, you do. You have to get it blessed with that special. There's a special.
Right. There's a special. It's not. It's a different thing. But so I think this would count.
Let me say, okay. So the beginning, though this is not a quote unquote Catholic show, we are a talk show for everybody. The first half of the show, tonight's show, will be very Catholic heavy. And if you have a problem with that, you know what you can do. But yes, Stephen. In fact, if you have a rosary and it contains Saint Benedict medals, and you bring it to get blessed, they are separate blessings for whatever medals may be attached to the rosary, because I do that a lot. My rosary has miraculous medal, a Saint Benedict medal.
Mine's just made of stone.
A saint medal, a divine mercy medal. No, I'm just kidding. And then you have to get each of them blessed separately, or you go to hell.
Nope, not that. That's not. It's not stone cold like the heart of Steve Garone.
That's right. It's in the canon law.
No,
wrong thing, you go to hell. It says.
And if it's a Saint Benedict mental, there's no blessing involved.
There's no blessing. You're just hallucinating the medal. It's not.
But
really
this one is mine, which is
there are many like, but this one is mine.
So these are stone beads.
Is that pink?
Right? I don't know. It's just stone. There are a variety of colors of stone beads. I like it because it's got heft, and I don't because a lot of people like the gunmetal one. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. I think we've advertised a lot for Catholic Pipe Company, and they love us, and we love them.
For a pocket watch. What is he doing? Is he carving that?
He's got like a laser
point of order.
Mm-hmm.
Point of order. You said multicolor. Is that a lavender rosary? You said multicolor. I wanted to know if it was like Jesuit made lavender.
No, it's not Jesuit made lavender. It's stone.
Oh,
it's stone. But I've also got this. I've got this down here in this nice bowl, with some.
Steve's like this. Most of him is disappearing before it
happens all the time. Yeah.
I got these glasses, these special glasses.
Oh, look at those! They look definitely designed in a Dominican context. Oh, look at that. Okay.
And a very nice rosary.
Those are like racquetball glasses. What are you doing with those?
Those
are something that Mr. Coffin will remember because these are items that he left here in my office.
That's my Smith & Wesson 9mm practice glasses.
Oh, there you go. I knew it was something like that. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
But no, it's actually really nice rosary. I like it.
So you are a shooter.
Yes.
We will have to have you on one day concurrently with Boss Rutan, who is also a big. Do you know Boss?
I know Boss. I'd love to appear with Boss.
Yeah, we are friends here.
He's kind of, I prefer a stronger man, less wimpy, but I really like Boss.
He's a little bit effete, but what are you going to do? Boss was the very first guest in the very first podcast I ever did some years ago. He agreed to it for absolutely no good reason, out of the goodness of his heart, and we've become friends since. And he frequently appears. He's appeared with Father Ripperger on one occasion, who I've come to know through him. Boss is just a fantastic guy.
He is.
So we'll have to do a show with the both of you. Yeah, that would be excellent.
I was raised in I think politically similar background. I was born and reared in a wholly owned subsidiary of the CCP called Canada, where gun control you just imbibe it with mommy's milk. I think then the Netherlands have similar kind of Eurocentric attitudes toward guns. The guns themselves are sentient beings that do bad things. So my time in America has been a conversion on many, many fronts, and one of them is the Second Amendment.
Now, since you bring it up, Canada has had an election again.
Oh, Canada!
I thought for sure Pierre Poilievre would get in because certainly and surely the Canadian people have learned the error of their ways. They've seen what was it, 9 years under the idiot Trudeau brought them and has wrought in their society, right? But no, it turns out, as far as my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that they have doubled down on that way of thinking. It's a continuation of, if not an exacerbation of, the political perspective that Trudeau would have himself kept.
So, okay, this is a softball for me.
Okay.
Castro Jr. is not as dangerous as Mark Carney, because Mark Carney is a grown man who's forgotten more about how the world money flow works than Castro Jr. will ever learn. Canadians, I don't know if Admare usque Admare, which is it's from one of the Psalms, from sea to shining sea. Forget which Psalm it is. It's embedded in the Canadian coat of arms. It might as well be translatable as "Govern me harder, Daddy." Pierre Poilievre did not have the charisma and the pushback needed to overcome the CBC, Ottawa Citizen, Montreal Gazette. I mean, the whole machine was against him because he has the word conservative attached to his party. He lost his own seat. He ran an uninspiring campaign. He made the dumb decision to pick a fight with Trump, and he just went off the fumes of his own fear. When you lose your own seat and you're running for prime minister, Houston has a problem.
Yeah.
He did this cutesy interview that almost looks fake. I don't think it was, but a lot of theater involved with the Apple.
Right. He should have parlayed that into.
That could have been a really magnificent thing, but he took Trump's 51 state thing and tried to spin it so that he's conservative, but not Trumpy. A lot of Canadians, there's a paradox here. The province of Quebec is very nationalistic. It doesn't really fit in well with Canada. I studied in Montreal. I went to McGill University. And so I know the Quebec mindset. And every other province has what's called a provincial legislature that governs their provincial politics. Quebec is the only province that has a national assembly. Well, a national assembly is the assembly of a nation. But they love Trump. They were very anti-Canadian tyranny when it came to the Schmovid tyranny a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were lockstep behind the truckers. And in Montreal in the summer of 2020, so early in COVID, 100,000 Montrealers jammed the streets with Trump and American flags because they so detested what the Canadian federal government were doing to impose all the COVID restrictions. But Mark Carney was the pre-selected WEF protege. At Poilievre is another one, by the way. I think there's a cycle. I'll just stop here because Canadian politics is pretty boring for Americans.
No. So this is interesting. This is very interesting. People need to know this stuff.
When you're already when Castro, by the way, Castro Jr. is not a joke.
He looks just like him. If you look at the photos side by side, it is uncanny. I don't see how they deny it.
Well, I'm good friends with his half brother, Kyle Kemper.
You're kidding me.
No. Kyle's mother is Justin's mother, Margaret Kemper. She was Margaret Trudeau.
Okay.
The Trudeaus visited Castro in 1970 and then came back in 1971 with a baby. And in every era of Justin's life, I mean, preteen, teen, young adult, and so on. Every era, it's the same. It's the same physiognomy. It's exact. So I asked, just for your listeners and viewers, I asked Kyle about the 800-pound elephant in the chancery here. I said, look, is Justin's bio dad Fidel Castro? And I didn't know if he was going to be angry at the question. After a delicious pause, he said, well, Patrick, they do look a lot alike.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So, but when he got out, I mean, he stopped his lecture tours and he wouldn't do the whistle stop bus drive things anymore because he would be hounded and surrounded by protesters, like universally loathed across Canada, except by the media elites that kept him propped up and protected him and made us forget that he actually has a pronounced lisp. But when he quit and got out, Mark Carney, the way Canadian politics works, becomes the de facto, although temporary, prime minister. So he had the psychological advantage of being Prime Minister Carney, and they said that day and night until the election.
That's actually smart. Yeah, that's a smart tactic.
So, but it's really, if you think the American Democrat Republican is a uniparty, Canada is just absolutely fused. It's like
really. Oh,
yeah. Boy. The only difference is the shape of the logo of each party. They are, I suppose the NDPs are a little closer to full-on Marxism, but they're both lockstep, unlimited immigration, LGBTQ++, abortion.
Yeah.
Poilievre wouldn't even allow any kind of debate among party members in caucuses. No. So, of course, Pierre Poilievre, he had nothing to distinguish himself from Castro Jr. And Canadians figured, let's just triple down. Let's get a more competent, financially savvy, older statesman-looking guy who ran. He was a big Bank of Canada guy, international. Lived in England I know someone who used to be his neighbor. He spent a lot of time in England. So you notice that the elites that springboard into these positions of prominence, they all kind of come out of nowhere. Did you ever hear about Mark Carney a month ago? Guys?
No, I never heard the name once. No.
Right. Yeah, like Barack Obama. What? Illinois, huh? Boom, president.
He's a very interesting case. It's what I remember is, I know nothing about Canadian politics and very little about politics in general, but Canada, please correct me if I'm wrong, I probably am, but they held on to for a period of time.
You're right. No, that's not true. That's a myth. No, you're wrong. Sorry. Sorry. Say what you were going to say first.
They held on a little bit to the idea of they were more connected to the system of monarchy coming from England for a while. If I'm remembering, in my youth, it seemed like they had a hat tip to monarchy up there. They retained, in some sense, it seems to me. Again, I may be wrong, a bit at least of the noblesse oblige that we have jettisoned here from the inception of the country. Or is that wrong? And now it's completely gone, if they ever did have it. Am I remembering incorrectly? Did they have kind of was it lip service? But I remember hearing a lot about like the monarchy and Canada still being connected to the old country, the old world in that sense. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. 1949 was a big year. That's the year that Newfoundland became a province, and it was no longer known as the Dominion of Canada. That's what the official name was until 1949. We still had the Union Jack as our flag until the late 60s, and that's when you had the Expo in Montreal. You had Trudeau Mania. This is Pierre Elliott Trudeau's first run. He was in his 30s. He was like the young jet setter, playboy guy. And out went the Anglo-Canadian establishment, began to crumble. And Canadians, the joke in Canada is that our national identity is that we're not Americans. In 1982, Pierre Elliott Trudeau invited Queen Elizabeth II over for some tea, and they signed the Canadian Constitution in 1982. So there's a quasi Canadian independence that happened in that year. No guns, no bloodshed. There's nothing. There's no Paul Revere figure here. But Her Majesty the Queen, may she rest in peace, her visage is still on every Canadian quarter and Canadian money. I think forget which. It's literally plastic money now. They don't make paper money anymore. But the Queen is on the loonie and the toonie, the dollar sign. So there's a kind of nascent nostalgic carryover with Merry England. But Canada, since the late 60s, has definitely positioned herself as a post-Christian secularist entity, because the Queen now, Charles, of course, there's still an association with Christ there, with the defender of the faith, which I understand that Charles changed it to defender of faith so that the Mohammedans wouldn't be offended.
Yeah.
So that answers your question in what way, Chris?
No, it completely, actually. I basically just wanted to make sure I wasn't totally crazy. So thank you for that.
I remember one last little anecdote from my ute. We sang "O Canada" before they've changed the word names now to make it bowdlerized. It used to be "O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love and all thy sons command." No one freaked out, but now it's like in all your children. They just removed sons, meaning male and female children, right? And after the national anthem was sung with some pride, it's very easy to sing, unlike the Star Spangled Banner. It's got a beautiful. I love "O Canada." After that, we had the Lord's Prayer read by the principal in a public school everywhere in Canada. Most provincial coats of arms have some scripture in them, some very specific, especially Quebec. Quebec is more Catholic than Louisiana and California combined. Quebec is extremely, in her backbone and even their Bill of Rights, very, very Catholic, which is why the devil goes after the most Catholic places: California, Malta, Ireland,
France,
Poland, France. Right.
Yeah. Well, also you mentioned Louisiana. There's that direct connection between the more Franco provinces of is province the right word, of Canada, and with Louisiana, right? The Acadian peoples.
This is where you're right on, Chris. That's where we get the word Cajun, like Cajun food. L'Acadie, Acadian, is the name of the French that's still spoken to this day in Nova Scotia and fishing villages in New Brunswick. L'Acadie français. It's very much very similar to French spoken in Paris, unlike Québécois, which is called Joal. The only people that French waiters hate more than Americans are Quebec tourists. It's like comparing the way a drunk Bronx cabbie speaks to the way Tony Blair speaks. But yeah, the English, bless them, kicked out the French in the 19th century with the expulsion of the Canadians. This is Longworth's prose poem Evangeline comes from. I'm amazed that this has never been made into a proper movie. But if you look at the white pages of Halifax, my hometown and Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all the surnames in Louisiana are the same. So there's strong family ties from Louisiana to the Acadian area to the east of Canada.
Super interesting. And also the Catholic connection there being that Louisiana has parishes rather than
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is only something I want to ask you because I value your opinion on this. It's only tangentially related, but it reminds me of it. So when we talk about revolution, the revolutionary spirit, always the deleterious effects seem to follow. So the industrial, the French, certainly, the communist revolution. Why do you think it is that the American Revolution seems to get a pass? Because are we not seeing the same kind of trajectory that followed after the French? And did not the American really pave the way for the French Revolution in a sense?
I think I know what you're asking.
Okay.
I think the reason why revolutions fail is that they're convulsive. They involve trigger points and inciting incidents where both gloves are off and they duke it out. But it's I'm not sure if you're familiar with René Girard and his theory of mimesis or mimetic desire, the scapegoat mechanism. When you fight the power, when you unshackle your tyranny, your bondage to the man, now you have a problem. I lead pilgrimages around the world, and one of my pilgrimages was to Ireland. So from Dublin to Galway, I spent a lot of time in Irish pubs, spoke to a lot of young people. And one of them, in a moment of weakness and candor, I thought, said, Patrick, we've got a problem here in Ireland. Once we got rid of the Catholic Church and our authority, we don't know whose authority we're under now. That's kind of a problem. I think America is walking to hell, or at least to dissolution, more slowly than other.
Yes, it seems
empires.
to be slow, but it seems to be happening. And I don't know that. Okay, so I know the arguments can be made that George was not a good king, yada yada. But I think that maybe I've just talked to Charles Colombo a little too much. But I think that monarchy is always a preferable form of government because there is always that sense of the aforementioned noblesse oblige, at least a little bit, because of the lineage of these people, everything that they come from, everything that they know, they've been raised to believe. Even if they're quote unquote anti-Catholic, they care more for the people, I think, instinctively than a government that's completely detached and where these politicians are just out for themselves and to exert power and are drawn by power. And also it seems that they can influence things much more easily. I mean, Charles Colombo said that the president and the Congress and the institutions of government in America have exercised much greater power without the support of the people than even an absolute monarch would even dream of. So do you think that these are problems that are inherent to a constitutional republic or democracy that would not be there with a monarchy?
I do. I'm a monarchist. I'm a Catholic. I have a king. I'm a subject.
Right.
Only heaven's perfect. There is no perfect form of government. There's a more perfect. I'd rather live in America than in, say, Burkina Faso, for instance. But I think the Masonic and deist / Protestant spirit is in the DNA of America, and we're already seeing its dissolution. You can go back maybe 19th century, the way the Supreme Court began to decide things. And now, if Burger fell Hodges in 2015, we're all moving toward total balkanization, even internal balkanization in the human person, where we don't even know what a man and a woman is anymore.
Right.
If you look at, I think the greatest film ever made, maybe the greatest film that will be ever made, is Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. And there's a montage of actual World War II scenes where one of them is actual footage of president calls for prayers. Like, this is during World War II. Now, what president post Eisenhower has done that?
No, none.
Call for prayers,
No,
someone to really pay attention to. In fact, I want him for my own. I've interviewed him before. He's a wonderful guy. And just a super brain on so many different levels, a true polymath, is Anthony Esolen.
I know this name.
Yeah, look him up. Follow him on Twitter. He is really the fine wine of he's first of all a famous translator of Dante.
Oh, sure. Okay, I knew the name from somewhere.
Tony he taught for 20 years at Providence College. It's just a really great Catholic Renaissance man. And Professor Estlin has so many examples of the before and after, but what happened to the country in the explosion known as the Second Vatican Council happened temporarily at the same time, but let's just stick with social, political, cultural, which is the sexual revolution.
Right.
You had look at Time Life photos in the 1950s of baseball games. Every man has a fedora. Most men have short dress shirts on with a tie. Right. Everyone dressed to kill for Sunday Mass. Protestants, everyone. You would never swear in public at a game. Never.
No.
Women did not dress like prostitutes. You had sodalities, you had public choirs, you had complex, every city, town, and village had multiple bowling leagues. There's a book by Robert Yarrow, I think his name is, called Bowling Alone, of how American society's become very segmented and kind of isolated. Even where we live now in rabbit hutches, they're called apartments. So everything's apart. Everything's anti-community. But so Estlin's been talking a lot about this on the things that we've lost, and I think we can regain. I love it. We can never go back. We can actually.
Of course,
we go back by going down.
I would say one of the great things about a monarchy is that you don't have to spend your whole life constantly following politics, which is what we kind of have to do now. Like, because let's say every 4 years, every 2 years, every day, right, there's some political thing that we have to pay attention to. But if there's a king, it's like the king's going to reign for like 30, 40 years. So you might see maybe 2 or 3 leaders in a lifetime, right? And of course, so
you got prime minister cycles though too.
Well, I'm talking about like a complete monarchy, right? Not like the constitutional monarchies that we kind of have now. Like we like that idea of just, you don't have to, like, it's like the papacy, right? I mean, yeah, you're gonna have a bishop, but you're gonna have a bishop, and that bishop will rotate out every 15, 20 years or something like that. But you don't sit there and think, like, the conclave is happening next week, right? And there are people who are going to sit there and they're going to be discussing and talking about who's going to be, but you literally can do nothing and should do nothing other than pray that it comes out well. And that's kind of the way for a king, right? Like, if you had a king, you pray for the king that the king does well, and if not, then you pray for a quick death to the king. You know, you pray for the king to be replaced. But you don't have to sit there to say, okay, I'm going to go to this protest rally to try to change the mind of the senator to try to sway the vote in Parliament or in the Congress to potentially have a bill that may go to the president to sign or veto. Like, you can appeal to the king, and the king can listen to you, or the king can send you on the street. But and you don't have, like, there's not this constant cycle, and you don't have these groups that just try to get your money in order to push forward some sort of agenda. We do have a question from
meaningless and powerless anyway.
But but like, there's this illusion of control that we have now. There's an illusion of choice and of control that keeps people trapped, where they don't care about their fellow neighbor. Their eye of Sauron is pointed straight towards Washington or towards the Vatican or something, instead of on what they're supposed to be working, because they feel like there's something they can do.
One little thing, I noticed you got some questions rolling in. I just cited Marshall McLuhan to someone. I got to interview Eric McLuhan, Marshall's son, who carried on his baton. And Marshall was talking about the future of politics is image. We're moving more and more and more to one image fighting another image. And I think a big watershed in this image, just piggybacking off what Steve just said, in a monarchy pre-photographic era, the king could have looked like Jabba the Hutt or Fabio or Cary Grant. No one knew and no one cared. Didn't matter. Then you have the greatest invention in communications history by far is the wireless radio, because it's the radio that made place irrelevant as far as the consumption of material. And I highly recommend the movie that justly got awarded everything it could, and that's The King's Speech. Have you seen that movie?
Sure. Yeah, very good.
It's a wonderful movie about the power of the voice. And here's this stuttering prince who's cowering, he's afraid of his own shadow, and his father dies, and his brother absconds with the divorcee Wallace Simpson, and the whole weight of the monarchy falls on him, and he can't even talk. I love that movie so much. I've seen it many times.
It's very good.
But, the medium is the message. So
McLuhan was a genius, and very
Daily
little
Mascor
understood.
Daily Mascor.
And he McLuhan was I think very difficult to understand. Still is very difficult to understand at times, because he's operating with concepts even now that are very ethereal to a lot of people, but proving more and more prescient as time goes on in all his assertions. Stephen, we have a question about a conclave. Explain to the people at home, what is a conclave, Stephen?
No.
Yeah,
so the conclave is when all of the cardinals, they come to Rome.
Now explain to the people at home what is a cardinal, because it's not a bird. It is a bird.
Okay, it is a
bird,
but no,
team.
It's a baseball. Yes. So the St. Louis Cardinals have to fly to Rome, and they put them all in a room.
Stephen, explain to the people at home about a pope.
Okay.
Only Hall of Famers, though.
So they get all of the cardinals, which are the cardinals are at the same rank as bishop, but the only difference between a bishop and a cardinal, truly, I mean, there are some, we can go into the details of how people feel like they are, but in the actual hierarchy, the only difference between a cardinal and a bishop is that a cardinal can vote for the next pope.
And
so
the next get a nice hat.
Well, they have a red hat, which is supposed to showcase their martyrdom, but that's something else. Anyway. So the Pope dies or resigns, generally dies. Then all the cardinals converge, and they're locked in a room together, and they have to determine who the next Pope is going to be. So the reason why they're locked in a room together is because if they were allowed to come and go, then you'd have people who are coming in trying to influence on the you're coming in trying to influence who the next pope is going to be for various reasons.
No one has ever been able to influence a conclave to pick a pope. That's just
right. That's yes.
That's never happened.
I'm certainly not St. Gillen Mafia. Anyway, it's ridiculous, but
it's impossible to happen because, as we know, the Holy Spirit elects the pope.
Nope. Okay, so that's
So we're gonna wing.
We're going to. So the question is. The conclave comes together and says, "You, Patrick Coffin, are the Pope."
Now, who is eligible to be elected Pope?
Male Catholics. Male. Yeah, baptized Catholic males.
Because last week you tried to tell people that Jerry Seinfeld could be the Pope.
I didn't say he could be the Pope. I put a picture up as though he were the Pope and a funny little phrase.
Patrick, I immediately said,
"Papacy about nothing."
Yeah. I said, I disavow this irreverence from Stephen. May he be struck by lightning.
I haven't been, but I live in Arizona, and there's not a lot of rainstorms here, so there's time.
And anyway. 2 weeks before that, this is interesting, was the week we were talking about the Pope at the time, and you said, I wouldn't mind killing the old so-and-so.
I didn't say, nope. I said I would. I think I said that I wouldn't be.
It's on video, Stephen.
I said that if he died, it'd be okay.
And you said, I don't care what they're gonna do to me. I'm untouchable.
That's not. Nope.
2 weeks later, he drops dead.
That's not what happened. But okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Actually, yes, very much so.
No.
Because again, Arizona, no influence whatsoever. Well. Anyway, so Mr. Coffin, Patrick. My dear friend Patrick, who is one of my best friends now, we've decided, because I have your dog and you can't do anything about that.
Did you hear the veiled threat there? He said, because I have your dog.
I love you, Roger. Steve, I'll never forget you.
Okay, you're the Pope. What is your first your first order of business as the new big cheese? That's the question.
What a great question. My first order of business is to, in a heartfelt, sincere, and extended way, apologize to every Catholic who ever felt that normal Catholic spirituality and theology and liturgy was made to seem extremist or rigid or cuckoo, and to please be patient as I turn the ship around that's been capsizing since the late 60s. I would like to further, I would like to see the documents, not the crazy, easy, low-hanging fruit, crazy, the spirit of Vatican II. I would like to see the documents of Vatican II subject to serious revision, as the Catechism was in 1996 after Evangelium Vitae came out. I would like to...
And the Code of Canon Law previous to that.
What about the Code of Canon Law?
They completely revised that also.
Yes. It's just been one experiment in fidget, fidget. Look what happened when Coke did that ridiculous thing with the new Coke. It was a disaster. Volkswagen never quite recovered from jiggering the tried and true Volkswagen Beetle. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what
was good enough for Hitler. Should be good enough for the hipster and the coffee.
Volkswagen. So I would issue an apology. I would restore the Mass of the Ages, and I would. That would be a good start. I had one. I added another one, but I would start with recognizing the problem. You can't really have restoration of anything unless, like living with an abusive alcoholic, you have to name what the problem is, and everyone has to understand the source of the problem. And right. I think a true, not an apology for the way the church did something 50 years ago, or apologized for some ethnic group that was offended. No, Catholics have been hurt, wounded, offended, sidelined, made into pariahs for absurd, if not diabolical reasons. And I think some future pope would do wonders. It'd be a supernatural event if a true apology for the disruptions and the discontinuity that was sown after the Second Vatican Council, if not during.
Now, do you think that before we move on to this question, do you think that I've seen some arguments online saying that the sudden rescinding of the Novus Ordo so-called mass would be too jarring, and that we would end up losing many Catholics in the church because they would not want to attend the traditional Latin Mass, that they would abscond to some form of Protestantism, which may seem more familiar to them after decades in the Novus Ordo, and that it would be imprudent for a pope to simply do away with the Novus Ordo in an immediate fashion? What do you think about that?
I think it's a reasonable question. The second question arises: how long a runway is sufficient? Because in 1968, they did the first dry run of the new liturgy in the Sistine Chapel. This is prior to the 1969 Novus Ordo Missae of Paul VI that was finally imposed from above. Almost overnight, you're talking about an 800 or 900 year old tradition of the TLM, the traditional Latin Mass. The most recent reformation of it, if you will, or the refining, was 1962. They had by they I mean the elitist progressive neo-modernists, they had no problem overnight imposing it. So no longer could you go to the same Mass in Tokyo or Trenton or Gilbert, Arizona, or Buenos Aires or Moscow. No, that's all gone. The disruptions that were caused, I mean, we're too far in time to realize how many people had their hearts broken and their lives upended. I want to say 10,000 in the first 5 years. I think Bishop Sheen references this. From 69 until 1979, you had the biggest bleed out of the church in church history, including nuns and priests who just they couldn't accommodate all the new crazy. The only constant is change, and it all happened unfortunately under Paul VI. I know Paul VI will be remembered for Humanae Vitae. My first book is on Humanae Vitae. It's called The Contraception Deception, but he never wrote another encyclical. He lived 10 more years. He gave us the practical end of Meatless Fridays. He gave us the normalization of cremation. In February 1972, he got rid of the exorcist as part of the minor orders en route to priesthood. Then by November of 1972, he's complaining in a general audience that the smoke of Satan has entered into the cracks of the temple of God. That's a real problem, and there's no way you can throw it. What's the word? Incense or perfume on the problems. So the people who did this to the church by imposing the Novus Ordo and jettisoning, but quick, and really sidelining, if not forbidding it. Even the indult of 1984 was kind of too little, too late. John Paul II really was not an avid supporter, and certainly nowhere near in the category of a Benedict XVI.
Yeah.
And so you have people like, I'm just thinking a bunch of names now. Anthony Burgess, who wrote A Clockwork Orange and Little Wilson Big God, Graham Greene, Yves Lenoir. There's a wonderful crime writer named Joseph Wamba who wrote the Choir Boys. They were all raised Catholic, and they just said, this is awful. The majesty of divine liturgy is gone. And if you want to watch something hilarious, Elvis Presley, who I think was a crypto-Catholic on some level.
Oh, so do I. You've talked about this on an old show of mine.
Oh, yeah. Elvis was in a deliciously bad movie starring Mary Tyler Moore and himself called Change of Habit. If you want a snapshot at the church in the turbulent wake immediately after Vatican II, watch Change of Habit. He plays a music minister in a parish. That sounds like I'm joking. I'm not joking.
No, you're not. You're not.
Yeah. So
what I think is interesting, a less ethereal kind of example of all the stuff that things did actually change in the church and they had a real effect and ripple throughout the world is, this is probably interesting. I think it would, even to people that aren't Catholic, just as something more concrete, is that legions of exorcists have reported that once certain things occurred or allegedly occurred in the Vatican, that they ceased to be able to liberate people from demonic possession the way they used to be able to. Used to be a few days, maybe a few weeks. Now a lot of exorcists are reporting years, if ever, it is taking to liberate people, and they're tracing it back to some trace it back to the supposed satanic consecration written about by Malachi Martin in his books. Some trace it back to the full institution of Vatican II's changes. But that's a real kind of concrete example that people can look at who are even not Catholic maybe and say, wow, the exorcists can't even do their job anymore. Something has broken in the connection between the heavenly and the earthly in regards to Christ's church.
Well, what the church lays down as a weapon, Hollywood picks up. The smoke of Satan and the removal of exorcism, exorcist as an office, en route to full ordination to the priesthood. That was 1972. The Exorcist came out in 1973. I think it's the second most pro-Jesus movie ever made after the Mel Gibson Passion of the Christ. So sometimes outsiders can be insiders.
Well, I have to ask you one more question before we bring on our musical guest. And because it's a very timely question, what do you think realistically we can expect from this conclave? Because maybe I'm just being a pessimist, but I don't see any earthly reason. Of course, divine intervention can occur, but I don't see how we don't get someone potentially worse than Francis out of this thing. What do you think?
Excellent question. Have you heard of University Dominici Gregis?
Sure.
It's the 1996 Apostolic Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
There's provision, an explanation of canonical crimes with respect to future conclaves that John Paul II foresaw. And remember, his main ghostwriter was one Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger.
Mm-hmm.
One of the provisions offered in UDG is that a minority, in fact, 3, you need a 2/3 majority to be pope. That could be determined by 3 cardinals. There's a lot of ifs that are stacked up here, and I don't want to blow up your show into a completely different direction. So I'm going to preface everything with if, the biggest word in any language.
Right.
If there were canonical irregularities, shall we charitably call them, in March 2013 and the lead up to that, as bragged about in Austin Ivory's book, The Great Reformer, in a talk by Uncle Ted McCarrick at Villanova University in 2014, and in the biography of Gottfried Daniels, they don't hide it. They brag about what they did.
Yes.
The behavior that they describe is perfectly in line with what is considered a canonical crime by University Dominici Gregis. And the automatic, which is to say late sententia excommunication, meaning you don't need to go through a canonical trial, it's just the thing itself causes your excommunication, is that penalty for electors that do this, vote blocking, schmoozing. It's not even like human arguing or going back and forth. It's quid pro quo deals, treating the papal office like a political office. Automatic excommunication for the one who assents to it and the ones who conspire in it. I asked Cardinal Burke about this. Is it possible that these crimes could have invalidated that conclave? And his answer was, it is possible, but difficult to prove in a canonical trial.
Right.
Why? Because many of the perpetrators would be the judges in a trial. The thesis that there were serious problems with the way the conclave in March 2013, and indeed the phrasing of the Holy Father, Pope Benedict, in his Declaratio, which itself was misnamed. It should have been called the Renunciatio. That's now gaining currency. I'm seeing it in more and more interviews. More and more people are writing and talking about this.
Yeah.
So for my money, I'm not the authority. I'm just a guy with a laptop and a curious mind. I think we have a better chance of recovering the continuity with the past, specifically pre-Vatican II and all the sacred tradition that Catholics lived and died for, if the cardinal electors select someone who themselves were elevated pre-March 2013. The question is, so many, it's not just, the former Archbishop of Buenos Aires stacked the deck with clones of him. It's not just that. It's that the ones that really should have been speaking up, it seems to me, like during the COVID tyranny and so on, bided their time. Maybe they were keeping their heads down, you know what I mean? Keeping the main thing the main thing. I don't think cardinals should be politicians, and there's a limit to what anyone can do. But I have great hope that we're going to be surprised. I don't think it's going to be Cardinal Sarah, mainly because of math. He'll almost be, he's turning 80 in June.
Yeah.
And I think the cardinals, while they're open to a course correction, maybe a really more traditional as opposed to establishment conservatism course correction, but they want someone young, vivacious, who can do it. And I have a great admiration for Cardinal Sarah. Of all the picks, I mean, this is a guy with many, many gifts. He was made an archbishop by John Paul II at the age of 34. Consult your mental Rolodex. How many 34-year-olds could do that job? You know, the weight of being an archbishop in Africa.
I can do it.
Yeah, you and with Clarabelle's help. So I think, I think there's reasons for hope. No, the Holy Spirit doesn't magically or directly pick the popes, but Jesus Christ is our Savior, and he's not in the business of leaving us orphans.
Right.
My image that I use in my own prayer life is that our Lord is taking a power nap in the boat.
And very good.
The boat was about to capsize. Now think of this. The apostles in that boat during that storm spent their lives in storms. And how bad did that storm have to be if they're going to say to their master, hey, don't you care? We're going to die here. So that could have had to have been the mother of all storms. And our Lord woke up, said a few words to the storm, calmed it down, and then looked at them. I can almost see it. Really? And he rebuked them. I don't want to be rebuked by our Lord when he wakes up from his power nap.
No.
So I would rather have Jesus Christ with us asleep than the alternative.
I have one quick question for you. This is very quick.
It has to be quick, Steve. We got the band waiting.
It is. How do you say this guy's name?
Mary Knoll? Sorry.
No, not the name is the thing in the yellow box. Right.
He wants to know if you're going to say
Oh,
papist.
yeah. It's pronounced modern papist.
Papist. It's pap. Oh, no, I'm not going to hear the end of that.
Yeah, it would be papist if it was double P.
Yeah. You know what? You know why you can't think clearly, Stephen? Because you're not caffeinated.
Oh. Well, maybe I would be if someone didn't break my cup.
Who broke your cup?
And too bad they didn't replace the cup with something cooler.
Who broke it? Your cow?
You see that?
No, I can't.
It's my replaced cup.
It's a magical. It's a disappearing cup.
So Raised on TV. I'm going to add them to the stage. Yeah, they're here. No coffee. Coffee. Okay, so I'll just state it for everyone out there. Coffee's
for closers. Coffee's for closers.
It's the cause of the downfall of Western civilization. Now, that all being said, we've got a band.
Okay, let's see if they can hear us. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being patient. We look forward to. What's the name of the song you're going to play for us tonight?
Thanks for having us. It's called Mess I Made.
Awesome. Okay, we're ready. Whenever you guys are ready. Thank you. Very good. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we ran a little long. We know we were going to do 2 songs. And we'll have to have you back if you're willing, and that would be really great. I know that the audio was cutting out a little bit for me. I don't know if it was for anybody else, but I hope not.
Yeah,
it was for you too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, still, we appreciate it, and we'll have you back, and maybe do 2 songs next time. We'll do a sound check next time too. I think.
Feels like a real show with a band.
It's almost like a real show. That's it.
Almost like a real show.
We get the interview, we get the musical guests, so we just work out a few kinks, and then we're fine. Well, thanks to everybody.
That's a good show name.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
We will declare the winner after off air and contact you guys the winner individually when we do that.
Yes, there will be 2 winners. Yes, so we're giving them both to the same person.
Hey, Mr. Garon?
Yes.
Is my boy there?
He is, but I didn't bring him in here. But
I want to see the dog.
All right, hold on. I will go get the dog. So banter for a moment.
We will sign off with the dog, Patrick Coffin's dog.
It's not a bad name for a show called Almost Like a Real Show.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, I'm stuck with this name now.
You and I will do another show. I was going to say solo, but that would be a contradiction because it'd be 2 of us.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Where are you in Texas?
I am in. Well, right now I'm in Port Arthur, which is right on the Gulf Coast. It's surrounded by refineries.
A friend of mine lives in LaPorte. Are you near Houston?
It's not far.
Oh.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours, hour and 40.
Okay, you're closer to the ocean. All right.
We're like right on the Gulf. Yeah, it's nothing but refineries, and but we're about to get into an RV and travel the country. I'm going to take the show on the road.
Cool.
So I'm hoping to do more in-person interviews, have a little bit of a live audience when I can get them, and I'm also going to be doing that'll give me an opportunity to do some more open mic stand-up spots, which I used to do more frequently.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right, let's see if I can get him up here. Scout.
Here he comes.
Oh, he's looking just because he hasn't been in this room since you were here.
Well, the room.
Are you downstairs, Scout?
Let me edit.
Did the band leave?
Yeah, the band apparently left.
Oh, they left. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to. Well, I wanted to talk to them a little bit. Well, I'll talk to them through email.
I'm going to turn off my virtual background here so that we can see. You can see Scout.
Oh, Scout.
Well,
Scout.
He,
Scout.
Scout.
He can't hear me, right?
No, he can't. All right.
Nope.
Buddy boy.
Hey.
Buddy boy.
Scout.
There he is.
Scout. It's really the sound of my voice that's going to do it for him. Hey, Scout. Scouter.
Let me get.
Scout. Hi, Scouter boy.
There's that
Scout.
ghost.
My little man. Scout. Oh, hi, bud. Oh, he's so cute. Look at him.
He's
Oh, he's
going a little nuts.
New favorite.
Oh, Scout, my little man.
He's cheating on you.
I'm jealous, but I feel happy for him.
It's some kind of chow mix.
It's
somebody was
German
asking
Shepherd is the main.
German
Hey, bud.
Shepherd.
I see. Very nice.
He can't really hear you that well because I've got my headset and it's actually pretty good. But
You should have put it on him.
I did for a second there,
did
and then
just for a
he's going
second.
nuts.
I didn't
He
see
get
it.
little
Oh, he
kooky.
didn't like that.
Yeah, he was fired from the NBC. He was a sound tech, and they fired him. It's a bad Pavlovian association with headphones.
Oh,
so
I see. Well, that's understandable.
Can't handle it.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
No problem. And anytime, you can reach me anytime you want to see your dog.
Let's sign this off because then we can.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Christophe and Esteban. Next time, let's talk about St. Philip Neri Festival.
Yes.
While I have you. And well, we can talk.
We'll talk offline.
The people will never know. All right. Well, it's time to say good night, everybody.
Good night.